everybody, it's Rockin' Roberta and Milo. Say hi, Milo. Oh, you guys know he's never impressed by the camera, that's for sure. Let me prop you up here. I'm gonna do a book review today. I've got some notes. If you see me looking down, that's why. This book is called Rewire Your Anxiety by Boutte. He has a channel here on YouTube called The Rewired Soul. And he wrote a few books, as a matter of fact. I was on his channel about 3 weeks ago, and he was talking about the book that he wrote about on anxiety, and I told him congratulations, and he left me a comment saying that he would give me a free link if I reviewed his book. But I decided to go ahead and pay for the book because I like to support small businesses, and writing a book is always something I've been very interested in doing myself, so I wanted to support that. I think it's really brave and it takes a lot of fortitude to write a book. And anxiety is right up my alley. For those of you who don't know, who are new to my channel, I am a recovering pain pill addict, and so I believe, after doing lots of therapy myself and working on issues like depression and anxiety, I believe that anxiety was a major factor in me abusing drugs and alcohol. Those substances came into my body and controlled the whirlwind of chronic anxiety that I've dealt with in the past. And so, yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting to read this review this for you guys, and hopefully it can help some people out there who are suffering with the same thing. He states that his goal of his book is to help anyone struggling with anxiety, whether you're diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, PTSD, or just struggling from time to time. Chris states that his book is not to replace therapy, but offers practical solutions. Chris is not a doctor or a therapist, but someone who was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder at the age of 27. So, he is not a therapist, he is not a professional, but he pretty much just speaks on his own merit and things that he's experienced around this disorder. And so let's see. Chris gives some facts from the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, the ADAA. So I thought this was pretty interesting. The ADAA reports that anxiety disorders are the most common forms of mental illness in the U.S. It affects 40 million adults, which is 18.1% of the U.S. population. Only 36.9% of people are getting help, even though anxiety is highly treatable. The numbers are actually higher, but the percentages, these are just diagnosed percentages. Sometimes I wonder, because they have the data for the diagnosed, but I wonder how they get the data for the undiagnosed. I guess it's just people going into the doctor and saying, I have anxiety, and it's just never been diagnosed. So this book is actually a two-part series. There's 2 parts, and the first part talks about things like childhood anxiety. One of the things that I have definitely experienced in my life, my childhood, especially my younger years, were very traumatic and disruptive, and I believe that that's where the roots of my anxiety issues have stemmed. I was never diagnosed with a general anxiety disorder, just to let you guys know, but it's something I've definitely dealt with, and I do believe that my childhood stems from that. So it was really interesting reading that part of it. Self-medicating, right here, you're talking to somebody who is an addict, somebody who's self-medicated for years and is still medicating. I'm currently on a maintenance medication, a really, really low dose of a maintenance med that really seems to keep my anxiety at bay. The biology of anxiety, that's really interesting. Understanding trauma, different traumas. He goes into talking about sexual assault, car accidents, gun violence, war trauma, public speaking. Can you guys believe that I have dealt with every single one of these things? Kind of sad, but it's the truth. And a lot of people have. So he goes on to talk about the different types of traumas and how they affect the brain chemistry and different things like that. So it's always good to get like scientific data behind somebody's opinion. So that's one thing that I liked about the book. So he has another chapter called Truth About Medications, and goes on to give his opinion about medications and the challenges and benefits from his experience using them. I have tried lots of different medications in my life. I won't go into all of it here, but I can definitely relate with that. There's a chapter on different types of therapy that help anxiety. So he talks about talk therapy, something that I've definitely indulged in my life, a lot of talk therapy. I don't have a problem opening up to people, so I don't think talk therapy was really effective for me, but I think the types of people that talk therapy would really help are people who don't talk a lot or don't really feel good about sharing their emotions and stuff like that. DBT, dialectical therapy, which is something I'm definitely interested. Mindfulness meditation, something that I absolutely love, that need to practice more. And exposures therapy. I hadn't heard of exposure therapy before, so it was interesting learning about that. He touches on depression and how it affects anxiety. Sometimes depression and anxiety go hand in hand, but for me it's always been one or the other. And I always said, geez, if I had a choice, depression or anxiety, I would choose anxiety. He talks about identifying triggers and teaches people how to identify their triggers. And I think that is so important, especially when you're learning to outgrow something like anxiety. You have to know what your triggers are, like not putting yourself in certain situations that trigger you into an anxiety attack. But he goes on to talk about like how to handle your triggers, identify them, number one, and then how to handle them. So triggers being like feeling overwhelmed, insomnia, afraid of leaving the house. I think they call it agoraphobia. Being afraid of the dark, body image, disagreements, loud music, silence, fear of the unknown, meeting people, worrying about the past or the future. I don't know about you guys, but I have definitely been triggered by all of these things in my past and sometimes in my current life. I know that worrying about the past and the future can definitely bother me at times. That's how mindfulness really ties in. And he talks about mindfulness and like constantly worrying about the past and the future. Mindfulness can really pull you out of that. He talks a lot about mindfulness and meditation, which I really appreciated. I am somebody who's pretty well versed in meditation. I'm not practicing right now, but it has definitely helped me, and I do implement it at times in my life. I'm just not actively in a sit practice at this point, but I have been. The second part series of the book are questions from his Twitter and Instagram subscribers. So he goes on to ask his subscribers lots of different questions, or they ask him questions, and then he pulled those questions anonymously and put them in the second part of his book, which I thought was really cool. That makes it fun for his subscribers to be involved in it. So one of the things that I get from this book, was just a reminder to be gentle with myself, and that when I'm feeling these overwhelming urges of anxiety is to not be so hard on myself and know that there are tools and there are resources for me to figure out. Like just sitting down, reading the book, I actually listened to it on audio twice and then I read through it once. But just doing that was 3 sessions of therapy right there, and just reminding myself about my mindful practice and learning about DBT too. Dialectical therapy is something I really want to get into. So it kind of reminded me to take more of a serious look at my mindfulness practice, which I've kind of put in my back pocket for a while, and just to be easy on myself and to realize that other people are going through this too. One thing that I liked about the second part of the book was that he put people's experiences and questions in the back, so it kind of like when people were asking him questions about their anxiety problems, it made me feel better, like I'm not the only one. Of course, I don't want anybody else to suffer, but you get what I mean. So let's see. So I actually bought a DBT book, a dialectical therapy book. I really want to learn about it. I think I might have it right here, as a matter of fact. I actually got this from Chris's link in one of the videos he sent. And so Dialectical Behavior Therapy Skills Workbook, it's exercises for learning mindfulness, interpersonal effectiveness, emotional regulation, and distress tolerance. So that's something I'm going to be delving into really soon that I might share with you guys if you're interested. I think it's a good book. I think anxiety is just, it corrodes a lot of our minds and our spirits and our bodies. And I think that anxiety has a huge part of why so many people are sick. It's just so unhealthy for it. It's really good to learn. If you have anxiety, it's really good to learn about it, because when you learn about something and you know it, it's not going to freak you out as bad as if you don't know what the heck's going on. I wish that when I was 14 years old, somebody would have taught me this stuff. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. If you are a parent, start teaching your kid about how to first get your own anxiety in order, and then start teaching your kids how to handle their anxiety. Because I know, like I said, if I would have learned this kind of stuff when I was younger, I wouldn't have had as many issues. There is a cure for this. You just have to seek it out, seek out the help, read books, and really implement the practices. So it was really cool learning about the exposure therapy also. I'm still really don't know a whole lot about it, but it's something I'll be delving into a little bit more. I think that this book would be really good for people who are beginners. For me, like I said, I've done a lot of work around this subject, so reading this book was just kind of a refresher and a reminder. Not with everything, I did learn some things, but I think this is a really great book for somebody who's like just discovered that they have anxiety, that crazy feeling that they've had all their life, and they just figured out what it was called. Like, I didn't know anxiety was anxiety until I was like 40 years old. So, you know, like one thing I love about the millennial generation is they have brought out this word and they are shoving it in people's faces to look at it. And I love that, because in my generation, when I was younger, you just hid your anxiety and you dealt with it by drinking or using drugs or, you know, any other kind of numbing agent, TV, whatever it was, you know. And nowadays people are really face to face with it and taking a look at it. I recommend this book to anybody who is just starting that adventure. Very helpful. Chris has another book. It's called Rewire Your Anger, and I believe, don't quote me, but I believe if you buy this book, it's a $4.99 ebook, and you also get a copy of the wordings, because I like to listen to my books. I like audio, and then there's no hand paper book, but it's an ebook. So yeah, it's $4.99, and I believe Rewire Your Anger comes along with it. Like I said, don't quote me, but you do get the audio version, and you can have the version that you read. Don't quote me. I got both. So I will go ahead and put a link to the Rewired Souls channel in the description box, and a link to where you can find this DBT book. And yeah, let me know how you're doing in the comment section. Let me know how you deal with your anxiety, what kind of issues you're having around your anxiety, and what you're doing to improve that stuff. And on that note, I'll let you guys go. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.